Okay. Shalom Akim, Kahala Imra Yahawashi Yahshabash Hakudash. Double honest to greatness and apostles. Thought I shall for strength and all to make this video and Yaratazah that you find it edifying, which means to build you up, and you also find it exhorting, which means encouraging as well. So really, as I named the video, getting straight to the point, really, Yahawashi in spirit was ever over Israel. You know, because there are times where, of course, we know about the predominant readings of Yahawashi, you know, in the Gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And of course, in the predominantly in the New Testament as Yahawashi himself, you know, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. But we know that what people don't know, you know, within this truth, is that he was also present in spirit in the past life as well. You know, for those of you who can understand it, because you got to apply well, yes, reincarnation in the physical form, but he was there in spirit as an angel over Israel. That's what I mean by the title of the lesson. So, you know, I'm going to just bring out, you know, a few core precepts here, Yaratazah, just to illustrate the point. You know, it could be a short lesson, could be a long one, depending on how the spirit goes. But Yaratazah, the point is to just hit the core verses, man. Hit the point. So, this is Exodus 3 and verse 2. This is one of the examples of which Yahawashi was present. Now, of course, it wasn't as obvious as it could be, as it would have been. But that's why we need teachers. You know, hence why I give double honors unto the great Muslim apostles. You know, that's mentioned in 1 Timothy 5 and verse 17. By giving double honors unto those who rule well and continue in the labors. You know, week in, week out, they go to camp, man. So, and also not just that, to do their weekly videos. But besides the point though, let me read the verse based upon Yahawashi. So I'm going to start from verse 1, but the key part is verse 2. Exodus 3 and verse 1. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock on the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of the Most High, even to Horeb. And it says here in verse 2, and the angel of the Lord Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. You know, so of course, after, you know, going to get one of his flock, you know, I presume, you know, sheep, cattle, you know, and them type of livestock. You know, when he was going to get, you know, he then discovered a bush, a burning bush that was not consumed by fire, meaning that, you know, when you burn something, the remainder of it would be ashes, you know, some kind of burnt output of it, you know. But yeah, the point is it will be a darker ashy color, you know. So anyways, so the point is, it says, I'll read verse 2 again, Exodus 3 and 2, and the angel of the Lord. Where it says angel of the Lord, you know, capital letter A, angel of the Lord, you know, Yahweh, that's referring to Yahawashi, because also Yahawashi in the spirit is really the one who was sent by Yahweh in order to relay the message onto Moses on what Yahweh's intention is to do for the children of Israel, which is of course to free them from the bondage of Egypt, from Pharaoh. You know, so that angel of the Lord was how Yahweh spoke unto Moses, which is through Yahawashi. You know, so Yahawashi is that angel of the Lord right there. So it says, and the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in the flame of fire out of the midst of the bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. You see? So yeah, that where it says angel of the Lord, that's referring to Yahawashi, just to make it super clear. So we're going to get to the next one now. When Yahawashi actually was over Israel, you know, within a chariot, but over Israel. And we're going to get some precepts on that as well. Because Yahawashi was watching the whole time, man, believe it or not. Yahawashi was watching the whole time. When Israel was going through their first Exodus, he was watching. When they're going to go through their second Exodus, which is going to be from Babylon the Great, you know, from that major nuclear missile destruction, he will be watching still. He's always watching. So of course he does the will of the Father as well. So therefore, him being the angel of the Lord, he's doing the bidding of his Father Yahweh. All right, so let's get to the next one. Let's go and keep it concise in this video. So Exodus 13 and verse 22. Hold on. Let me read from verse 21. So Exodus 13 and verse 21. Just for context, this is after Israel's been hold on, let me check something quickly. This is really after the Israelites went out of Egypt, and of course after they went out of Egypt, the chariot of Yahawashi, which can be perceived as a cloud. I'm gonna read it. Was used as a guide to follow for Moses to lead Israelites out of the land of Egypt, man, and into obviously they went into the wilderness of Shur and so on and so forth. But let me read it here. This is Exodus 13 and 21. And the Lord Yahweh went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. Verse 22, he took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people, which means that chariot was always there, man. I remember in the flipping I'm not sure if it's in the Prince of Egypt, that Disney movie, I guess, or whatever Pixar, whatever animated studio that created it. Either they used the star to guide it. I'm probably wrong, because I haven't watched it in some time, so memory's kind of loose there. But the point is, the Christians wouldn't really interpret that as a chariot, man, as a so-called UFO. When I say chariot, I'm talking about an unidentified flying object. Really, to us, it's identified because it's the angels of Yahawashi that use those vehicles. They're known as the vehicles of the heavens. So this was used in order to guide Israel out of the land of Egypt and for them to just, really guide it in the path to go. And we get another precept to support that as well. So, and in that chariot, by the way, that pillar of cloud, as it says in verse 22, pillar of cloud by day, so it looked like a cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night, which means it had a glow in the night. The chariot had a glow in the night. So, and that would create a light for Israelites as well in the night. So it would be like having a massive light over Israel, man, wherever that they camped in. So anyways, he took not away the pillar of cloud by day. And you know what that reminds me of as well? The movie by Jordan Peele called Nope, Nope, which it means not of planet Earth. Jake was there, one of the main characters. I forgot his name, man. He's British. He's a British actor. But it's a Jake. And he mentioned that cloud hasn't moved all day. They watched it in the recording, and then they saw. I forgot his name. He's the one who wore the orange jumper. And he also acted in the movie. I think Get Out. Yeah, he's the main guy in Get Out. So just to trigger your memories. So in the movie, he was recording. He was suspicious of a cloud, so he started recording it, and he checked over the recording of the house, and he realized that cloud has not moved all day, and that was a representation of a chariot, man. Of course, in the movie, it was like an actual creature. That movie was something else, man. But brothers can watch it. I think it should still be on Netflix, at least in the UK. Another way to also, of course, get into different regions is to have a VPN. That works out. If you want to just switch between Netflix, whatever movies are available at different countries, you could change it via VPN if you didn't know that. But yeah, point being is, I think on the UK Netflix right now, it should be still available. Nope by Jordan Peele. Nope. You can type it up on YouTube, you'll see the trailer. But yeah, man, that thing was like a creature, man. The chariot. So, but yeah, the point is, it literally looked like a pillar, a cloud by day, man. But in the night, of course, it still remained a cloud. But I'm just saying that just for the context of understanding of how the chariot in that time, it didn't move when Israel was supposed to stay at the camp, man, at that region. For example, the wilderness of Shur, the chariot would have hovered there until Jake did whatever it was supposed to do there, and then move on to another land. So, anyways, that's Exodus. Let me read it again. Exodus 13 and verse 21 to 22. And the Lord Yahweh went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud. As I said, example, NOPE, Nope, the movie, to lead them the way, and by night in the pillar of fire, and give them light to go by day and night. He took not what you see. He said, and by night in a pillar of fire. So it means the chariot in the day it was a cloud. In the night it was a fire, so that it could be as a light for people to see, for Israelites to see in the night. When they had to, I guess, clear up and prepare for the night, man. And it says, to give them light to go by day and night, he took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people, because it was a guiding light for them, literally, and of course spiritually as well, because Yahawashi is there as a rock. Speaking of rock, for the people to rely on, let me get this preset, because I said I've got a few to support this. Alright, 1 Corinthians 10. Just hold on. Alright, this is 1 Corinthians 10. I'm starting from verse 1 to 4. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, again, reference to chariots, to so-called UFO, under the UFO, if you will, spaceships, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, man. You see, because of course that was the time when Moses brought out the commandments as well. There was a first set which Moses destroyed because he was angry, and then there was a second set that was then created, man. And then it says here, baptized in the sea, baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the spiritual meat, and did all drink the spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Yahawashi HaMashiach. You see, it says, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them. Which means, as I said before, that cloud by day and pillar of fire by night was a chariot, was a so-called UFO hovering over Israel. And of course, as it was hovering over Israel, Yahawashi was in that chariot, the head angel, guiding Israel in that time. So even in that time as well, we were dependent on Yahawashi to also save us too, if you will. So of course Moses was the physical man to lead Israel, but the spiritual man, which is the root of the saving, was through Yahawashi. So one can even say through Yahawashi, that's how Israel got saved as well. So remember, his name means he delivers. So yeah, man. It says, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Yahawashi HaMashiach. See? So that's one thing right there that links to, that's 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 4, that links to Exodus 13 and 22. So Yahawashi was in that chariot. Now let me see if I can get there's one more precept as well. Hold on, let me see if I can get. Just hold on. Because you gotta remember, man, there's actually deep knowledge It's through the spirit of Yahawashi that we're able to understand. That's not as common to people in this world, especially you could say Christians, as Apostle Gabar says, wacky tacky Christians, man, because they can't reason. That's why. Really, you can liken them as a simple people, which really simple goes into being stupid. In case you don't know, in the Old English, I remember in the House of David episode, what's his name? Yeah, Goliath. When David came out, he said, "Are you simple?" When he said that, I cracked up, man. Oh my days, are you simple? Because I knew obviously he meant, are you stupid? If you translated it into the modern day English, are ye simple? What an episode, man. But yeah, it's on Amazon Prime if you want to watch it. For free, by the way. Let's see. Yeah, the movie's free, but of course you gotta pay for Amazon Prime to get the Prime Video, to get the subscription. And that's so lucky. Let me actually get the preset. That's what I get. Wisdom of Solomon. (18) and I think verse 3. So Wisdom of Solomon chapter 18 and 3. Instead whereof thou gavest them a burning pillar of fire, both to be a guide of the unknown journey, and an harmless son to entertain them honorably. You see, it says, let me read again. Instead whereof thou gavest them a burning pillar of fire. Again, we mentioned that in Exodus 13 and 22, 21 to 22. That the chariot was a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, to be a guide, and obviously so that Israelites could see in the night as well, man. So instead whereof thou gavest them a burning pillar of fire, both to be a guide. Remember, he was guiding them, Yahawashi in the spirit, as an angel. So he was the one in the chariot, and then we've proven that through 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 1 to 4. Key part being verse 4. So it says, both to be a guide of the unknown journey. You see, that required faith. Of course, predominantly from Moses. He was the one leading them. Moses had to also prop him up in the earlier chapters of Exodus. And an harmless son to entertain them honorably, man. So, that pillar of fire can be likened as unto a son as well. That's how the glow was, to entertain them honorably. So that's the key. That's another precept also support that as well. But, the key part is really 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 4, which proves Yahawashi's presence in those chariots, man, to be a guide. And even Wisdom of Solomon 18 and 3 shows that that the chariot was to be a guide unto Israel, and Yahawashi was the one controlling that chariot so that Israel could follow it. Right, let's see. I think I've got a few more precepts left. So keep the point of the title of the lesson. Alright, let's get into Matthew 18 and 20. Always gotta remember, man, that Yahawashi was always with us in spirit, to be our guides prior to actually entering the scene. He of course entered the scene multiple times physically, man. As Isaac, you got King Melchizedek, Solomon, and you got what else was there? Obviously as Adam, and obviously as Yahawashi as well. His I wouldn't say final form, but the form that he was in before he ascended into the heavens, man, into the spirit realm. Right, so let's get this precept. Matthew 18 and verse 20. It says here, Just thinking whether I should read from the verse above or get to the point. Anyways, let me just read the point. So Matthew 18 and 20. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. See that even the verse in itself shows that the names are important, man. All these flipping Christians that are saying about the names don't matter, the look don't matter. If you don't even know somewhat of how the appearance of who you're worshipping is, how are you able to then discern between the idol and the actual power? You see? So that's why wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thine times, because you'll be able to discern bullshit from the truth. That's the thing. And the names are important, which is the key point here. So, because obviously I know for those of us earlier on in the truth, you would have encountered, Christians or maybe some people discussing with priests, if you were part of the Christian or Catholic Church before in this truth, well, before the truth, I should say, you would have discussed these things with them. And certain of them would say that certain Christians would say, the name don't matter, the appearance don't matter. Some are on that level of ignorance where they say he looked like glass. You can't see him, man. It's for some Netflix show about some aliens that are formless or something. I know there's something on it, but point being is the name Yahweh or Yahawashi matters. Or else who you praying to? You're just saying God and Jesus Christ, but these are names that have been translated to a very weak tongue. If you want to know about the power of a tongue, when I say tongue, I'm talking about languages. If you want to know about the power of languages, just read the prologue of Ecclesiasticus and Apocrypha, which is actually part of the original King James Bible. Even this one right here, actually has the Apocrypha, man. The 1611 edition. All right, so Matthew 18 and 20. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, when we're with the brotherhood, we're praying, Passover service and special high holy days as well when we gather, or even just a regular basis when you meet up with a brother. It says there Yahawashi is also present too. And you have to innately believe that, man, because that's how we're able to have the understanding of these scriptures. Remember, he is the vine, and then we are the branches, man. So he's the root, and of course we spring off Yahawashi. We get our nourishment from Yahawashi. That's the thing. So without being connected to Yahawashi, we won't be able to understand his words and his and the scriptures, the words of Yahweh and the words of Yahawashi. All right. So, anyways, point is where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. So, of course, that's the point that point's really been proven there, man. And of course, again, linking back to when he was hovering in the chariots as well. That's when Moses had revealed the name of Yahweh onto Israel. But of course, Yahawashi wasn't on the scene yet, but he was still there in the spirit, though, because he was doing the bidding of the will of Yahweh. So that's Matthew 18 and 20, where two or three are gathered in my name, there am I also. So hold on. Yeah, for where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. So that's Matthew 18 and 22. Let me get this one as well. Now I'm going to just close it out. And yeah, that this has helped. Yeah, any new brothers, that may be watching, brothers that need to, recap their knowledge on this. Because this is just, you see, as a brief reminder, or like an introductory lesson on the fact that Yahawashi wasn't just present in physical form, but he was present in spiritual form, in an angelic form in the past, in the Old Testament as well. And not just in spiritual form, but also physical form too, as we go through the different reincarnations, regenerations that he went through as well. So John, let me get this final precept and I'm going to close it out. John 14, about verse 26. Right, so this is John 14 and verse 26. But a comforter, which is the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, you see, because remember Yahawashi is the deliverer. So through him he delivers the Holy Spirit. Now it says the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name. That's why when we give praises, we say Yahweh Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham Rahakwadash. Because again, through the Holy Spirit, which really you can liken as the collection of the angels working, that's how we then get connected to Yahawashi. And of course, through Yahawashi, that's how we get connected to Yahweh, which really Yahawashi is intervening on our behalf so that we have the mercy of Yahweh and the protection of Yahweh. Hence why Yahawashi is needed. I mean, he's literally fulfilling his role of deliverance from the very beginning, as I mentioned in this lesson, Exodus 13 and 22, and a cloud by day, pillar by night. 1 Corinthians 10 and 4. Him being the rock of which was a guide to us, as I mentioned in Wisdom of Solomon 18 and verse 3. So of course, those are that three core precepts that link together on Yahawashi fulfilling his purpose as being a deliverer. The first Exodus, and he will do it again in the second Exodus, which will be when Babylon the Great, aka America, will be burnt down with nuclear missiles. Which you see a lot of lessons based on nuclear missiles, my brothers. So John 14 and verse 26 again. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance. See, whatsoever I have said unto you. So it says, peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let it be afraid. So of course, really, because of the fact that he sent us the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, really we shouldn't be in a worrisome state or in an anxious state. We've got to be confident, which means with faith in Yahawashi that he's with us, no matter the shaky circumstances that we may go through, the storms, metaphorically speaking. We have to always remember that he's always with us, man. That's the point. Or else why would he give us the opportunity to serve him? And that's why we also say, Yaharatazar, that we endure to the end as well. That we have the strength to keep going to the very point where whether we die, and then we go to the spirit realm, or whether we literally have to endure as a pilgrim on the earth, Yaharatazar, the point is to get to those chariots and get crowned by Yahawashi and be joined onto Big Brother again. Which that goes into the first fruits in the family. So yeah, anyways, that's the point right there, that Yahawashi was always present, man. He was always present in spirit. And Yaharatazam put Yahawashi in spirit in brackets, because that's the focus of this lesson. So yeah, Yaharatazar, that this has helped to edify you, build you up, encourage you in terms of faith in Yahawashi, and to fortify your belief in Yahweh Yahawashi. So Shalom, and double honest agreements on the apostles once more. Kahalaim la Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi Bahashem Rahakwadash. Shalom.